This is my first sort of live demonstration. And when I started to the woods, this is kind of more what I thought I'd be doing, Mike, to be honest.
Yeah, fair.
But during COVID, we ended up doing this whole interview thing, which I love doing.
Yeah.
It gave me something to do, and I think everybody else enjoyed it. But I'm kind of excited, and as I told you guys on Facebook, I finally picked up, and trust me, I was slow as hell to get one, but I finally picked up.
I'll second that.
Yeah. I finally picked this up, and it's a Standing Bear liquid bait solution, liquid bait dispenser.
Right.
Fair? Right? I don't get that wrong. Mach 1.
And the name comes from, well, first, I'm kind of a bit of a World War buff.
Okay.
And so our emblem comes from, it's a World War II style type air, like the war
On the front. Yeah.
So that's our lettering as well.
Okay.
It's if you know the airplanes, then you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. On the front of the bombers and that kind of stuff.
And that's the influence that we used on
Shout out to it. Shout out to it too.
So in Mach 1, because legitimately it is fast.
Right.
If there's bears in the area, you're going to see action fast with the Machs.
Okay.
If that's this simple, that's the tie-in right there.
If you throw this up and 3 weeks in you ain't seen a bear, there ain't a bear.
There's no bears left.
I like that.
Which in Nova Scotia isn't going to happen.
No, I agree
Right,
with you.
so
We got the Mach 1,
Yeah.
but there's also what?
So the Mach 1 is 20 liters. There's a Mach 2, which is 30 liters.
Right.
And a Mach 3, which is 100 liters. The 100 liters are special orders.
Okay.
And actually, I'm going to throw it to my buddy James, who co-founded this with me. I'm now the sole proprietor, but James founded this with me.
Right.
And he's also, he's still on retainer as a consultant.
Yeah, 100%.
But James runs Napas Valley Outfitters. And if you look for him on Facebook, he just recently posted a whole bunch of pictures, and you'll see the 100-liter tanks on there.
Yeah. I saw
those are bomb for backcountry or a diversionary feed station that you need to walk away from and let it be.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that later.
We're going to get into that later because it's not light, but I'm standing here holding it. So we're going to strap it to a tree.
Fair. Yeah.
What I first know, so this is my first season using one.
Yep.
And I'm just going to do this. So it's my first season using one. And the idea that I'm doing here is that to have somebody who's used them over and over and over again and develop them and knows how they're being used, why would I go out and try to recreate the wheel if I can get it right from the horse's mouth? So James is going to help me strap it to a tree in my yard. We're not out in the Mike.
It's all good.
Why did I do that?
It's all right. It's all good.
You guys all know I already got concussions. Just so we're all clear, I will call him James one more time.
And we haven't had any pops yet today.
Yeah, that's right.
It's still AM here.
Still yeah. So we're gonna strap this up, but when I'm going out, I know what I'm looking for as far as a spot to set up a bait. Hard bait. I'm a hard bait. That's why the barrels. I've done that for 10 years now. This, I'm hoping, I'm going to set this up at my hard bait station. Am I doing anything wrong right off the hop there?
100%. It's the Nova Scotia way, and it's the Nova Scotia way because we are locked into a fall season only.
Right.
And we're the only province in the whole country that has a bear hunting that does not have a spring season.
Yeah. For a province with bears that's not allowed to hunt them in the spring. Yes, I know what you're saying.
So what happens is, and this is where I'm going to nerd out on you a bit, right? Because I did a lot of research into this, and I started hunting bears about 10 years ago, and it was actually, the first animal I ever took was a black bear with a bow. And I was just locked in.
Yeah.
So then it became, in Nova Scotia, we had a lot of larger companies that had food production.
Yep.
Then they would have those, I used to call them offcuts, or those little recipe mix-ups, and then you would end up with a little bit of bait that you could buy from them, really inexpensively.
Inexpensively. Yeah.
A lot of those have either shut their doors or moved them completely out of our province, and the bait situation in Nova Scotia is pretty, it's more expensive than it ever used to be.
That's right.
So this is ultimately a system that was created out of a necessity to reduce the costs of hard bait.
Yep.
And when you get talking about bears, they'll hit their hyperphagia mode, which is their prep for hibernation.
Yep.
They're not true hibernators, but they do their little sleeps.
Yep.
So when they hit that hyperphagia, they are trying to eat and bulk up at the very last. So we're talking September, October-ish,
Yep.
right? In partially August. That's when they start eating relentlessly.
Yep.
So the hard bait is what the bears are looking for a lot in the fall. They also, a tried and tested method that I've learned for North America as a whole is the use of used fryer oil.
Yeah.
Because when you're baiting bears, you're talking at 3 different levels. You have your air scent level, which is your airborne scent.
Yep.
A lot of people will use a stink bait or a stink
Or
pot
or a sweet bait.
or a sweet bait, something, a spray, something in the trees,
Yep.
just to get that air flow naturally will carry that scent and will
Downwind.
right, and attract the bears.
Yep.
The next level is your feeding level. So that's your hard bait barrels, that's the mocks, that's anything that you're feeding, that's your second level. And the third level is the pad.
Right.
So the pad is where the bear is going to walk over to get to your hard bait and hopefully track something away. So in essence, they're advertising your bait site for you to the rest of the bears in the area.
So, and this is something that myself and so many other bear hunters as well that I've spoken with, I don't like the big pad.
No.
Because it's often I'm on not public but private land that
Yeah.
you have permission to hunt on, and the last thing I want to do is create these big. It happens eventually over time. There's no sort, but to go in and just spread the fryer grease oil, something that I'm not wanting to do myself. However, I have used a little bit of spray, put it on the barrel, get it on the food when they're digging at it, and that eventually does fall out. And it's going to be, it creates that pad in time. But once a little bear gets into it, the best thing you can have is a little bear discover your bait 2 hours after you set it up.
Yeah.
Because he's going to track that everywhere. And as soon as you have a little bear hit, man, it's just a matter of time before those big bears start coming in.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
they're your best. That's your best bait station marketing employee is
Oh
little
yeah,
bear.
that's it.
Right,
That's it. That's right.
Right.
They don't. Yeah, they don't sell. Well, look, how old am I? I was about to say they don't sell Nintendos to adults, but that's how old I am. They sold Nintendos to 10-year-olds when I was a kid, and my parents had to buy it.
Right.
You like having those kids in playing in the bait, and they're going to advertise that all over.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's set it up.
All right.
So when we're setting this up, what are some of the things I got to keep in mind?
It comes down to a lot of personal preference and the geography where you're set in. So for me personally, if I'm going to refill a 20-liter tank, I usually, what I've done is I bought a few jerry cans that were brand spanking new, and 20-liter jerry can is one refill.
Perfect.
Easy to carry in the woods, and it comes with its own spout.
Right.
So we do make a larger top. You've got a little bit of an earlier model, which is fine.
Yep.
But we have a 2-inch top now, so it makes it a little bit easier.
So this is like 1.5 inches
This
almost.
is about 1 inch.
1
right?
inch. Okay.
So the 2-inch top allows you to basically, you can quite easily, without even the nozzle on a jerry can, you can pour into a 2-inch.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
So what I, if I may,
Yeah.
what I suggest is, like I'm about 6'2", something around shoulder height. Now I know I've got clients and I've got customers that are in New Brunswick and Newfoundland, and they're putting them up way high, and even Nova Scotia, and they're putting up way high because the idea is like, if I'm up here and I'm 6'2",
Right.
and I'm not reaching the ball,
Yeah.
it's another way to gauge your bear, because over 6-foot bear is a good bear.
Right. And I imagine with something like a 20-liter, potentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we have it here, we've got yearlings that are going to be able to hit that and get all the bait out compared to maybe a little higher. And I'm asking.
And it's a great question because people ask me it regularly.
Yeah.
And I'm going like here because funny thing, bears climb, little ones and big ones.
Yeah. Enough anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got pictures of cubs climbing up
Here.
hanging here, and feeding from it anyways, or resting on the top of it.
Right. It's
Right?
sitting on the top.
Sitting on the top of it while mom's feeding below.
Right.
They're really cool pictures.
Yeah.
But it just proves the point that it doesn't matter. You can put it down there.
Right.
It's wherever your easiest refill is for you, because you ultimately have to lift 20 liters of oil
Up
and
over
try
your
not
head.
to get it all over yourself.
All over here and all over everything else.
So I suggest shoulder height, because for me that's an easy lift.
Yeah. So these are not the straps I'm going to be using in the woods, but they're the ones I had on hand.
But that's a good point though too. You don't need high-end ratchet straps.
Right.
I suggest that you just go to Dollarama or whatever your discount store is, get a couple of ratchet straps, and it's the same as anything that you use in the woods. You should check your straps if you leave them out year-round.
Yeah.
You should check your straps every year.
Yep.
And if you think that one has failed or could fail, replace it.
Yeah.
That way you're not into a lot of dough.
So these are, you got these set up, and
Yep.
these are set up. This maybe not the biggest tree. It's the biggest tree I have on my property.
But that's plenty, though.
Yeah.
We say, you know, on the safe end, approximately a 10 to 12 inch diameter tree.
Okay.
That way, it's going to be able to withstand a big bear.
Right, from pulling it over.
Right. Because what a bear is, ultimately, they're a bunch of thieves. Right.
Yeah.
So, I've had bears with an attached tank like this, and they stand up to it, and the first thing they do after they discover that there's food in it is they start trying to yank it off.
Yes.
And if they can yank it off, they will steal it because they want to keep it away from everyone else.
Right. And they'll take that into the woods.
Right. There you are. That's how fast it is. Now, I know the two of us did that together.
Yeah.
The easy thing is to hook one here, flip it around, hook it here, pull it tight, put one or two on, put the bottom one on, tighten the bottom one on,
Right.
and then retighten the top.
Yes.
And then you're done.
Okay. Okay.
Right? On a single setup.
For the sake of, so there's another second
Yep.
one on the lower. For the sake of, but is there anything that, ultimately the second one is to keep them from being able to twist it.
That's it. You
Right,
just don't
that's
want
the
them,
physics
you
of
don't
it.
want them to twist it
Right.
side to side. That'll put the loss around your ratchet strap, no matter what it is.
So you want to make sure you put the second one on, but for the sake of today, there's not a whole lot of sense
No,
me putting
no,
it
it's
on.
done.
Right? So all right, so it's on. So we're up. And I have to admit, this being 5'8",
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm gonna have to get a spout if that's gonna work for me.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And the idea that I was gonna try to set it higher ends up being something else for
I've
me to
got-
go wrong. I've fallen out of a tree once
Well,
already, right?
That's it, right? I mean, we've got pictures of bears literally sitting down, especially the big bears sitting down, hunkering down, and they just sit here and they either
Pot.
hit
Right.
it, and then lick their hands, or they get right underneath of it and they just lick,
Yeah.
and or they'll pop it with their teeth, and it'll give them a good mouthful.
Yeah. So that's kind of the interesting thing about this. You've used a guard, kind of like an already. This prevents the bears from really being able to chomp on the nipple part here, right?
Yeah. When we first did our research and development, we took them off.
Right.
Because we tried a number of different nipple strategies here for the feeding port.
Yeah.
We discovered early on that these actually help prevent any kind of damage to the bear. Now, we've never had any damage to the bears, even on our prototypes.
Right.
But when we went and had a conversation with the large mammal biologists
Yep.
at the Department of Natural Resources in Nova Scotia,
Yep.
the first questions they asked us were, is there any tooth breakage? Is there any claw breakage?
Right.
And there's none.
Right.
We've had zero incidents recorded or even like evidence on the ground
It's on the ground. Yeah. Yeah.
that, of any kind of damage to the bear
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
So we leave them on
Yep.
because this way they cannot get a great purchase with their whole mouth. And risk breaking a tooth
Right.
because they just can't get in there.
They're not going to be able to get the muzzle in there. There's not enough. What do you say that's an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter?
About
It's
that.
not a whole lot.
No,
So,
exactly.
okay. I like that.
So yeah, that's why that stays on.
I think that gives us an opportunity to talk about the nipple specifically. Then.
Sure,
What did you guys do when you were thinking about this, and how did you kind of settle on this?
Well, the thing is, and I think that's still part of the misconception is the drip tape.
Right.
It's
not
not a drip tank.
Right.
Will you have a drip? Obviously, the first maybe fill up, you might have a little bit until it gets seasoned.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right?
So,
you
so
might
the
have
ball
you might have a
gets
little
kind of
drip
Yeah, yeah,
until it seasons itself out.
Yeah.
Once it seasons itself out, and you put the top on, it creates a vacuum seal.
Oh yeah.
So what ends up happening is if you ever tipped up a 2-liter bottle of pop and tried to dump it out
Right.
without swirling it,
Yep.
it goes glug plop,
Right.
glug plop.
Right.
That's what we were hoping for.
Okay.
Because what happens is the gravity will force the ball to reseal itself
Right.
every time.
It almost, yeah, in season, it kind of creates that little bit of a film all
Exactly.
around the ball
Exactly.
that creates the seal. I get that.
Exactly.
All right,
it just
that's-
helps increase that seal.
Yeah.
So as far as you put the top on,
Yeah.
it's not a drip tank.
Right.
So it actually seals, it self-seals, it only gives out the bait when the bears are feeding from it.
Actually pressing on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So that helps extend the life or the duration of the time that you need to go back in and refill.
Okay. So we're going to go into some products. We're going to get that out again
Sure.
to talk about. But because we're talking about setup, when I'm going in,
Yep.
use fryer grease. Use fryer grease, or am I better off to buy new fryer grease? Is there a...
I think the real question is, what do the bears like in your area?
That's fair. Okay.
My experience at this stage of the game is that each area, your bears can have a slightly different natural food sources, or sources that they're going into and feeding from, like maybe a farmer's cornfield or blueberry field or what have you.
Okay.
So that takes time to kind of narrow down, a couple seasons probably usually, to figure out, okay, the bears like this, they didn't like that. I use fryer oil. A couple reasons. A, I can get it free. Doesn't cost me anything.
And that's free
That's
is good.
big, right?
Yeah,
That's the
that's
whole
huge.
reason why we made
Right.
these.
Yeah.
So I can use fryer oil free. I also use a seasoning, and there's all kinds of seasonings on the market to boost boosters for your oil.
That's what we're talking about, the additives,
Right.
a seasoning.
Right,
Okay.
the additives.
Yeah.
So I use a locally produced one from Unbearable Lures called Castor X. I've got a bottle of
Got some of that here, and I know these guys as well.
Yeah.
Um,
They're based out of the Black Rock, Berwick area
Yep.
in the Annapolis Valley.
Yep.
So Castor X it actually was formulated specifically for our tanks
Yes.
to start off with. Now there's multiple other uses for this now,
Right.
but ultimately it is a pure castor. There's nothing chemically driven behind this.
Okay. It's not a synthetic.
Not a synthetic. This
Yeah.
is pure beaver castor.
Okay.
You can season. This is 1 ounce bottle. It goes at least from Standing Bear's online store. We sell it for $20 a bottle plus tax. And which, if anyone knows the price of castor, that's a bloody deal.
Okay. Yeah.
And 1 ounce, I will season between 40 and 60 liters
Oh.
of oil.
Okay.
So what I do is I will, in my jerry can, I'll put 20 liters and I'll
Yep.
dump in a half or a third of this bottle
Right.
into that, and by the time I walk into the woods, it's already mixed up.
It's all mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will make it stronger on a new unestablished site,
Yep. Yep.
just to get them knowing, oh, there's a beaver in there somewhere.
Right.
And I also will then thin it out, because realistically speaking, bears smell at the molecular level. Like, that's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
I tell people all the time that bears smell so good they smell in time. Like,
Yeah.
like it is hard to understand how well they smell.
We might as well be infants
Yeah,
compared
yeah,
to so many animals in the animal
Yeah,
world, but
yeah.
they smell at the molecular level. So if I can smell it, it's very strong for a bear.
Yes. Yeah.
So I thin that out, and I know that they're going to smell that and come to it.
Okay.
There's all kinds. There's Gold Rush. I think Clay Newcomb is a big fan of Gold Rush.
Yeah, and I know, and I personally, I've been using Gold Rush for a while
Yeah.
myself, and I think that's maybe something that not everybody's going to realize right off the hop, that this isn't sort of a use our brand only, nothing else will work in it.
No.
That this itself is a liquid bait dispenser. There are different liquid baits that you can then
There's-
potentially purchase and use.
So many choices out there.
Yeah.
On the market
Right.
to put this in, whether to boost or the additives into oil, whether it's new or used oil.
Right.
It's kind of irrelevant. You want to season your oil or you want to put an additive into it. There's so many different products out there to do that.
Right.
I am just a proponent of the fact that I'm a meat hunter first and foremost. I'm no different than any other hunter that's out there,
Yep.
guy or girl, who, if it came in with a rack that had 14 points on it, well, I just about after I clean my pants, I
Yeah.
would probably try to take that out.
Absolutely.
A bear that walks in that's 300 plus pounds, that's for me that would be a trophy bear.
Sure.
I'm gonna first of all freak out in my head,
And
and then I'm gonna try to take it out.
Yeah.
Right.
But
If a 180 pounder comes in,
yeah.
that's good eating bear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to pass up on that. Right?
You hit the number perfect for me too.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a good eating bear. And
Yeah.
I've got friends whose fathers would be, 2 generations, 3 generations ago,
Yeah.
who are a proponent of like, no, I want a yearling deer, I want a yearling bear, because they are going to be the most tender piece. But you're not going to get a huge meat yield of it, but it's going to be some of the best quality meat you're going to get.
It's one, as hunters we love to. That's a great. We discuss it every hunting camp. It gets discussed.
Yeah. I'm not shooting anything small. Oh, I actually want to be able to cut it with a fork.
Yeah.
Right? So no, for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so as far as the what you're put in this,
right?
We have tried quite thick liquids like a raspberry syrup that we got one time from a closing down of a dairy bar down in the South Shore.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Fantastic stuff.
As far as the bears like it.
Oh yeah,
sure.
The only problem was, and knowing what we know now, we probably should have tried to thin it out.
Right.
Because it was so thick, we filled up a 20-liter tank and lasted the whole season.
Right.
And I mean it in the sense that, yes, they hit it, but you think about it, if you got a bear or somebody that's hungry, are they going to want to, it's the Tootsie Roll Pop analogy. Are you going to lick it till you hit the chocolate center?
Yeah.
Or are you going to crunch it?
Yeah.
Well, the bears in hyperphagia want to crunch it. They got it. They're trying to fill up.
Yeah.
So a sweet little hit was great. They came in, but it didn't hold them on the site.
Right.
What holds them on the site is something that's got a high caloric, low risk for the bear.
I have this conversation with a lot of guys about hard bait and why I like sweet. I like to add a lot of sugars and things like that into it. And the reason in my head is that bear's got options in the woods, right? There's going to be options in the woods, berries, whatever the case might be, wherever you happen to be. There's always going to be options. And what you want is the least amount of effort for the greatest amount of calorie.
Exactly.
So if he's there for 2 hours and he's getting this many calories, or he's over there for 2 hours and he's getting this many calories, chances are he's going to spend a lot more time over there than over here. So you do have to kind of give them something.
Yeah. And I've come to the conclusion that the way that I like to learn about things and kind of like nerd out on them. You have to, if you want to be the best or greatest successful hunter, you have to know what you're hunting. And I say know it, just all kinds of, I'm not suggesting that you don't need a doctorate in bear hunting. Right?
Yeah.
But the reality is the sweets in our geography here in Nova Scotia, and I'm sure there's similarities in New Brunswick and Newfoundland and all the way across Canada and into the States.
Yeah.
But what I find is in the fall, they're hitting carbs hard. And your carbs are basically essentially your complex sugars.
Yeah.
So corns, all those berries that come ripen around September, like choke cherries, well, they're going to be down this year, which is going to be good for us.
Right.
Because the cold snap we had in February this year. But there's a window.
Yes.
In October where they decide that they want protein.
Okay.
Hard to gauge when that is.
Right.
Because as much as I have discovered these little pieces, if you notice that your bait has gone dry in October-ish usually, not always.
I know what you're saying.
And it goes dry the bears stop hitting it when they were smashing it in September.
Yep.
That's probably why.
Right.
They switched to protein and you're not offering anymore what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And again, in the spring,
in
the spring, they're heavy protein, because when you think about it, they're going to eat grass to help remove their winter plug.
That's it.
And then once the winter plug is out, what's right? Nothing.
Nothing's right, but there's a hell of a lot of roadkill, or winter kill, I should say.
Winter kill and roadkill.
And
those bad boys behind you.
Oh, yeah. I think you can actually see that in the background.
Right.
It is. Let me just be sure that is in there.
Yeah.
But green bins, it is. Yeah.
In Nova Scotia, right, the green bins is the biggest smorgasbord for bears that you can imagine.
And not only young bears. I think we often have that conversation.
Yep.
We often say, it's the young bears tipping them. It's the young bears getting pushed out. And it's an easy food source for them to find. it's an easy food source for a young bear. It's an easy food source for bigger bears too.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just part and parcel. I mean, it is what it is. It's a green bin.
Yeah.
But they do cause problems in the relationship of bears and human contact.
Yeah, and that's something that I found very interesting because I am a hunter.
Yes.
And like you say, it's about meat in the freezer. It's about getting bears in front of me and bow hunting them in specific for me, of course. But no matter what, that's how I see this. And in many ways, that was when you guys were kind of coming up with, that was your thoughts on it too. However, I've done some reading and it is interesting. You're using these as, and what's the terminology again?
A diversionary feed station.
Diversionary feed station.
Yeah.
So this is something, I'm going to get them to explain it.
Yeah,
because I think as hunters, when we have people that have issues with bears, it's something we can offer perhaps as a have you thought of.
Yeah.
Outside of let me kill them
Yes.
and put them in the freezer, there are other options as well. And I think it's good to talk about it.
And I think that hunters get a bad rap
For just.
for just killing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But the reality is,
Yeah.
if we look at this and you're talking about a hardbait, how many bears do you see that you can identify as different bears that come to your site roughly?
Every year I'm between 7 and 12.
Right. Okay. And you take
One.
If
If I'm lucky. Yeah, that's right. That's true.
If you're lucky, you
Yeah.
take one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've now fed between 6 and 11 bears.
Yes.
And help them
For next year.
have a jump start on the winter, right? To be successful and to bring them back next year.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting point too. A bear can remember and will revisit a site that they know was a solid feed source,
Yes.
regardless if it's a farmer's field or your bait site, up to 10 years. They'll remember that.
And that's, so let's not forget about diversionary base site.
Yes,
But
yes.
as a hunter, this is something that, this is where I think this is going to make a big difference for me. Because I don't want to lug hard bait in August at all if I can.
No.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm going up this week
Yeah.
to put my first hard bait out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to set this up at the same time, and I'm going to have a video about that, about me setting it up, and I'll show you
Excellent,
guys all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what I love about this is that next July,
Yes. Yes.
maybe what I do is I go throw 20 liters in it.
Exactly.
No hard bait.
Nope.
Throw it up. Let the bears, again, become more accustomed to knowing there's a food source in that area.
Exactly.
And then when I throw the hard bait out, they're already, I'm not waiting 2 weeks for the hard bait to kind of take off.
Right.
I'm already got that. And I think that this allows me, and the reason why I don't want to go out in August is because gas money, money of bait, money of everything else. So this is the deal breaker.
Yeah.
This makes that possible for very little money.
Yeah. So you've nailed us. You hit a lot of things that actually I was hoping to speak on. But let's go back to the diversionary feed station.
Yes, let's go back to that.
First and foremost. So
Because-
the diversionary feed station, I am going to put it out, and I don't care if it's the province of New Brunswick or Nova Scotia or Alberta. It doesn't matter to me. If they want to come up with their own to help out the reduction of bears being destroyed because they are considered nuisance bears,
Right.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
And if anyone in the Department of Natural Resources in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, or anywhere want to contact me, reach out. I'm on Facebook,
Yeah.
Standing Bear Liquid Bait Solutions. Just message
Hit 'em
me.
up.
Well, hit me up, and we'll talk about what we can have.
Yeah.
But the diversionary feed stations, there were studies done in the States. Now they're getting a little bit older, and that's fine, but
Yes,
it doesn't
right.
change the validity behind it.
Yeah.
So there's two two kinds. One is put it out in the back 40
Yep.
and draw the bears away from the properties.
Right.
The other is in a community. I mean, your community here would be a perfect example.
Sure.
If we had a bear problem in the community here, nobody has 40 acres.
No.
But if there's an empty lot on the bottom part of the subdivision,
Right.
and the bears are coming anywhere, you set up the feed station there.
So they're there.
But the kicker is everyone in the community has to be on board.
Yeah.
Because if you're putting the feed station there, you're not bugging the bears. They just know that's where the easiest food is.
Right.
They're not going to get in contact with people. People aren't going to get in contact with them. You're not taking.
And this
Right.
that's important because if you think about bears and bear hunters, again, you have to be a student of the game that you're going
Right.
after.
Yeah.
Bears don't want to be seen. Bears don't want interaction with humans. They don't. The reason they are is because of the calories that they're able to get.
Right.
A risk reward return on that risk.
Exactly.
So make it less risk adverse, and the bears are going to take to it.
High reward, low risk.
Right.
So the best diversionary feed stations, the way that they work, is that you offer them something that is attractive to them, but not as attractive as their natural food source.
Oh yeah.
So that when their natural food source comes into season, they will leave the diversionary feed station and they will go to their natural food source, which typically takes them away from people.
And I would say that for the most part, that's what we see green bins doing.
Absolutely.
It's better than what's available until something better becomes available, and then all of a sudden the bears aren't such a nuisance.
I would wager.
Yeah.
I would probably put some good money. I'm not really a gambler, but
Yeah.
I would put some good money on the fact that green bins are hit 90% more often in May than they are in the beginning of August.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not to say that they won't, because
No.
someone going to reach out and
and
say,
say,
"Oh, mine's hit every week."
No, yours is very tasty.
Right. but it also comes down to there's lots of other different factors.
Yeah.
The diversionary feed station does not guarantee zero contact with humans.
Right.
What it does, and the studies have shown in the States, and what I've used for this, is the back 40 type, pull them away from a property, is it reduces the human bear contact upwards of 80 to 85%. Like, those are big numbers.
That's a big jump.
Like, if you're seeing a bear once a week and you've now reduced it 80%, you might see them once a month. Right?
Yeah, or less.
Or less.
If you do the math, yeah.
Right,
or less. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a win for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So diversionary feed stations, we do offer that now as well.
As
a service.
Okay.
In Nova Scotia, I'll travel out or I'll talk to you on the phone, and either you can rent a tank from me for the summer or your problem months, or we'll give you a quote on servicing it ourselves.
Yeah, well, excellent.
So I mean, there's advantage, because if someone's in Cape Breton, well, they're not going to be able to pay for me to travel from the Annapolis Valley to Cape Breton and service it once a week or once every 2 weeks. But they may want to rent one.
Yeah.
And then fill it up themselves.
Right.
So there's options there.
Okay.
I've done that on this year. I've got 2 out right now, diversionary feed stations, and they've worked tremendously well.
Yeah.
And because right now the bears, whether you believe it or not, the bears are everywhere.
Yeah.
They really truly are.
I had that conversation this weekend a few times.
Yep.
I actually, I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried only because of the humans, not so much the bears. Human behavior and leaving stuff out and creating habitual bears is something that we don't always take into consideration, and then we make the problem.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
It's the habitualized bears that are the problems. Right. The ones that are not habitualized, there's nothing to worry about, because
I agree.
Because they usually don't want to be seen. You'll never even know they're around, because you won't hear them.
Yeah.
Like my bunch of buddies and I, we just call them forest ninjas.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually.
You can't hear them coming.
Yeah.
You don't see them going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless they want you to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we talked about this. We talked about the different sizes and whatnot. Yeah. We talked about how do you source these? Like, what are you doing? Like,
we use all brand new materials. We initially looked into refurbished, to try and refurbish used propane tanks that are now out of service for propane.
Yeah.
There's a chemical that's put in all propane, and at least in North America that I'm aware of, it's called mercaptan. And mercaptan is what gives it the rotten egg smell.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? But it also has been scientifically proven, through the studies that I've read at least, that it is harmful when ingested for humans. So if it's harmful when it's ingested for humans, I just made that logical leap that it probably doesn't do a bear a whole heck of a lot of good.
Right. And you're not going to find any science on whether it hurts bears or not anyway. It's not out there.
And we can use the science that they've already done for, like, eagles and DDT.
Right.
Where if you have an apex predator, and it eats this stuff, it becomes concentrated in their bodies.
Right.
And the apex predator doesn't stop at the bear. I'm the apex predator.
Yeah, we hope to be.
And as I mentioned earlier, I'm the meat eater.
Yeah.
And I enjoy, my family enjoys the bear meat. I enjoy sharing it with friends.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feed anyone that I know or that I love a bear that has the potential of having mercaptan in its system.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's very good.
That being said, I don't know of any way. I'm sure that there may be someone has come up with a way to get the mercaptan out of the leached into the metal, get it out of the metal. I don't know of any way. I phoned up the propane regulators in the province.
Yeah.
They don't know of any way. And actually, the gentleman that I spoke to on the phone said, when I was delivering propane, I actually had a washer and dryer designated just for my clothes because it ruined the washer and dryer in the house.
Right.
So that was the kicker right then and there. We get brand new propane, virgin propane tanks that have never had any kind of propane put into them.
Okay.
And because we were going to build our own containment units, and then we were like, we could not find a way cost effectively to create a pressure treated propane tank or pressure treated containment unit under the cost of buying it brand new.
Yeah. They've already got this down.
They've got it down.
They are making these as cheap as you can make these. How are you going to do that any better?
Exactly.
Right.
So we can't. And they already come with a nice little handle.
Right. Handle to carry it in the woods and to protect the nipple.
Yep.
And so
So we do some modifications to the tank itself as a containment unit.
Yep.
And then the business end is the.
Now you were telling me, just as we were talking before we were getting started, you sell the nipple.
We call it the little nipper.
Little nipper.
The little nipper. And this became, after a couple of years into the business, we had some constructive criticism given to us from some outfitters out west and in the States, where shipping a tank can get costly quick unless you're doing like a tractor trailer full.
And if you were taking them into a fly-in area or something like that as well, potentially.
Exactly. So they said, I can weld. Right. And there's all kinds of do-it-yourselfers out there. Heck, here I am.
Yeah.
Right? Do-it-yourselfer.
Yeah.
So we decided that we would market the little nippers on their own for anyone who had the ability and the tools to be able to build their own containment unit.
Okay.
There's only two differences from where I see from our business standpoint. Number one is we put a 5-year bear-proof warranty on all our Mach products.
Okay.
Doesn't cover bullet holes. I have to say that because you will have an opportunity to shoot a bear at the tank.
Right.
I mean, it's inevitable. Whether it's this year or the next year, they're going to come. They're going to give you, and we'll get into that as to how you can manipulate the tank. But you'll get a shot probably at the tank.
Right.
But we don't know what this is being screwed into.
Right.
So we can't put in a warranty on something we don't know how it's going to be.
No.
attached,
Yeah.
So, but 5-year bear-proof warranty on that.
5-year on this.
Yeah.
You can buy that.
You can buy this separately.
The do-it-yourselfers.
Yep.
You can buy that separately.
Yep.
Let's talk some price point.
All right. $265 plus tax, Canadian, and I say that because we sold it from Newfoundland to Alaska and as far as south in the States where they have legal baited bear hunts.
Right. Yeah.
And I actually even had a gentleman down south purchase one hoping that he could try and lure some hogs in on it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now, he's not reached out back to me. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. But
hope to hear.
That's what I'm hoping that will turn out too.
Okay.
Because hogs are super smart too. Bears are super smart. So
Well,
I mean, it stands to reason if you put this down.
They're a boar and a sow too.
Right.
There's some similarity, I guess.
Right. So $265 for the 20-liter Mach 1.
Okay.
$330 for the 30-liter.
Yep.
Mach 2, and then the 100-liter is we have to do a quote on that because the prices of materials have changed because of COVID and will change again.
Yeah.
There's not a huge profit margin on these,
right?
But I think I was in Costco in a 100-liter tank. I think I want to say, I hope I don't speak out of turn, but memory serves correct. It was like $199. It might have been $299. I can't quite remember.
For the tank itself.
For just the tank.
Yeah. No.
We have a price on our Facebook, and I put it on. I think we had it's $399.
Right.
But again, that's by quote.
You can't make them at a loss.
Right. $75 for the little nipper.
75 for the little nipper.
Yep.
Okay.
Plus
And you
tax.
can, like you said, you talked about some, and some of their stuff is available, not just the caster, but they actually have other products, correct?
They have a number of different trapping lures.
Right.
But as far as the bear hunting world is concerned, where
Right.
I come from, I use this, and I use the Caster X to season my or
As a
add to my
navigator, I guess.
oil.
Yeah.
And then there's the Beaver X. Beaver X is a 2-ounce jar.
Yeah.
I don't have any gloves with me, but I strongly suggest you either get a glove or a stick or what have you.
Yeah.
It's a combination of beaver meat, beaver caster, and blended beaver meat, and other natural ingredients. There's no man-made ingredients in this.
synthetic stuff.
No
Yeah.
synthetic stuff at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And they won't tell me what else it is. It's just
That's
proprietary, which is
That's fair.
that's cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And what this does is it kind of locks in the bear to where you want it to go. So it's a paste. What I do is I put a glove on or a stick and I scoop it in here and I paint the
It's not an
tank.
additive.
Nope.
It'll
it'll bring their nose right to it.
It's your new peanut butter.
And if you right,
Yeah.
it'll bring your nose right to it.
Right.
And it gives you an actual opportunity for a shot.
So we were talking about the 3 different levels of feeding.
Yes.
Your Beaver X is your air for the most part. You're trying it's going to be something they smell from afar and they're going to bring right into it, but it also works at the feeding level,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
They're going to lick that. They're going to
Well, the Beaver X, I don't know. It is. I would consider it definitely an attractant. Okay.
rather than a feed.
And rather than feed, the
Yeah.
caster, because it's 2-ounce bottle,
Yep.
$22 is what we sell for,
Yep.
and the Caster X is 1-ounce bottle. So this is how I use these products, which are pretty awesome. I think they're pretty excellent.
Yeah.
The Beaver X is like if I had a crosshair on where I wanted to have the bear come to so I could shoot it, that's where I would put the Beaver X. And that bottle should last you the season.
Yep.
Depending upon how many sites you have, but if for one
Sure.
site
Yeah,
it
yeah,
would
yeah.
last you
Of
the
course.
season.
Yeah.
I would come in and go into the hunt, and I would do a fresh on the tank before I went in, sat in my stand or my ground blind. Okay.
Yep.
I also
Yeah.
would leave this behind.
Don't take it into the booth. with
Don't
you.
take it into your stand with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Hence the gloves
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a stick.
Yeah,
'Cause you leave
yeah.
all that behind.
Yeah.
I don't leave it with the tank.
Yeah, no.
But I might do a little bit of an excavation or a rock and set it under the rock and pick it up on the way out.
So interestingly enough, we do something similar.
Yeah.
So if I was going to be using that, like you say, we tend to go. We're an evening hunt.
Yeah.
We like our evening hunts. We don't tend to go in the morning.
Yeah.
We don't like bumping them. So we will go in at 10 or 11, rebait everything, reset everything, maybe do that X.
Yes.
Go home,
time.
have a quick drink, lunch, and then we're back in the woods for 1, and we sit all evening.
Perfect time.
That's how that might be used.
The Caster X, because it's liquid, I find has a lot more uses. I find it works incredibly well seasoning the oil.
Right.
However, again, we're back to the whole bears can smell at the molecular level.
Right.
So there's going to be residue inside this bottle. I'm not a junky site guy. I like to keep my site clean outside of what I'm either containing stuff with or what have you.
Yeah.
But I will hang a Dollarama rope. There's not real rope. It's
Yeah.
got some sort of nylon feather that it's not even really braided. But when you take a knife and slice down the
sheath,
exterior,
kind of
the
exterior
sheath,
of it, yeah.
and you can fan it out,
Yep.
it becomes a great drag.
Right.
Or your air
Or a wick.
or a wick.
Yeah.
So I'll tie it around the tree above the tank,
Right.
dip that in, walk away. There's my air scent.
Yeah. Nice too.
And I also will take one and I either have it tied to my waist or my
actual drag.
ankle, and I drag it out, and I leave it my own scent trail,
Right.
back and forth, and a little bit of a cover
It's a little
scent.
bit of a cover scent.
A little bit of a cover scent.
Right.
And I also you just drizzle a little bit into your heartbeat.
Right.
So I used popcorn last year, a little bit of dog food, that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
I just, if I had a little bit left over, that did just a couple drips inside.
Right.
And it just, for me, I have sites where there's beavers in the area. The bears, no beavers.
And again, very quickly, when we were just kind of getting things set up and having a chit chat, I told him recently that although I'm a sweet guy, and that's mainly because I'm 15 meters from my barrel,
Yeah.
I actually like the sweet.
Right.
I don't particularly want to sit next to, say, rancid meat,
Right.
as an example.
Exactly.
So that it's a preference, not a definite. But I said I go by a beaver hut, a lodge, and I had taken pictures of some of the kits and that were in it, and you can hear them inside. And I went by recently, and it was excavated. I'm telling you, that was not a human that excavated that thing. That is a hungry bear that's not quite as hungry anymore.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Right.
So that we know this stuff. This is true.
Yeah, it's zero synthetic, completely all natural, and I guess for lack of a better word, organic.
Sure.
As far as like as it's all natural.
It's non-synthetic for sure. That,
exactly.
yeah. Okay.
Which is why I love it. And
Yes.
I also I'm a big proponent. I'm from Nova Scotia, so I can help another small business.
It's
in
another
Nova
local
Scotia.
brand.
It's another local brand.
And what you guys will kind of realize is that when you're on my page anyway, I feel similarly. Like I've talked, chat up quite a bit about predator archery targets.
Yes, yeah.
I might talk about Ursa Major and Shan and Sally, and talk about yourself.
Yep.
It's not that I'm not interested in the stuff that's out there, but they're already doing something.
Right.
I want to bring, hopefully, some attention to our local stuff, because if you're not buying local, well, then we already have an issue.
Right. I mean, to some degree, I agree with you completely, and I like lending the support to these folks who were initially like business colleagues, but now they become more like friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not to say there's all kinds of tons of great products out there.
Yeah.
And I am a proponent of learning your bears and their habits and what they're liking in the woods, because
In your woods.
in my woods.
Yeah.
Because my woods are different than your woods.
I think this is true.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had a barrel with hard bait in it that was absolutely, the barrel itself was destroyed because they couldn't not leave it alone. Move that same setup maybe 15-20 kilometers in a different direction.
Right.
Doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah.
It went moldy in the tank.
Right.
Or not
in the tank, but in the barrel.
hard bait. It was a molasses grain mixture.
Yeah.
And it just went moldy. I had to open it up and let the raccoons get to it.
Right.
Which I'm going to lead into. We've had nothing but bears feed from this. There's been a couple of rogue raccoons in Nova Scotia that figured it out, but there is actually currently a bounty on those raccoons. So,
Okay. Yeah, get a hold of Mike.
right, get a hold of me. All right, there's a bounty on the raccoons that have figured it out.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, in all seriousness, you're losing virtually 0% to other animals in the woods.
Right. Yeah.
So that's another, in my opinion, a huge selling point of our product is nothing else. You're not losing any of the squirrels, crows, raccoons, anything that comes in pilfer some of your some of your bait. It's strictly only for bears.
All right. This is fantastic. I guess on an out, we're doing pretty good. I think we got it pretty much covered.
Sure.
On an out, when I go in tomorrow,
Yep.
and I throw this up, and I'm gonna carry stuff in, and I'm gonna go back to the truck. I'm gonna carry more stuff in. So it's not about,
Yep.
But for those guys that are maybe going in a little ways,
Yes.
wow, can they get everything in? Should they carry it loaded?
No, you carry it empty because you don't want to bump the ball.
Okay.
Because your pants all of a sudden will be greasy and it's not good.
Right.
What I do is, if I may, the 20-liter tank is the perfect scouting tool. Okay, because you don't need to fill it. Because it's going to seal itself even if you put it half fill, 10 liters.
Yeah.
Okay, so put it in, scout, new site.
Put your camera up.
Put your camera up. You'll see, and I mean, you'll be able to know
There are
because
bears there. Yeah.
the reality is, if it's empty and you come back and there's not a bunch on the, you know there's bears there.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's perfect scouting because what I do is I use my rash straps and I just kind of make it like a backpack.
Okay.
Now, I'll wear a jacket just to give myself a little cushion.
Yeah.
But I'll put it on like a backpack and walk it in so I can carry my jerry can oil and that, and then I'm done.
I'm gonna be honest. Now you say that straps to my frame pack pretty freaking easy.
Right.
Pretty easy.
And again, that's just the way that I roll with it.
Yeah.
I would have my oil already seasoned in whatever containment you're going to use to transfer into the tank
Yep.
when you get there.
Yep.
And I'd have probably about, what depends on what you like and what you want, but really all you need is probably a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter and put it on the ball.
Oh.
The peanut butter is this, it's a peanuts, again, we're talking about a food source that is high caloric and very easy for bears to smell.
Right.
And if they have peanut butter here, it's going to immediately bring their nose up, and as soon as they press it, it's like, oh, that's the food dispenser.
Right.
That's how that works.
Where if it's especially a new one,
Right.
especially a new one, without that little bit, there's a seal, unless it is dripping a little, but you say may a little bit, but you really do want to sort of, you almost want to educate them.
You speed it up the process.
Right.
That's
You
all
wanna
you've done,
educate them
because
more.
they'll know eventually. They'll find it and you
Yeah.
bring up and they'll come up to it.
Yeah.
But when we first started doing this in their prototypes, we never used to paint the peanut butter on the end.
Right.
They all found it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
We got pictures of them wandering around it for a couple of days first.
right.
Put the peanut butter there. It was like someone marked it with a laser beam.
Right.
Boom, right to it.
That's
And
good
all
to
you
know.
need is one bear to find it, and then the rest will learn from it.
Yeah.
Because they're always out watching.
Yeah.
Right. There's almost like a queue.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
it's a
Bigger than
feeding
little
key.
usually.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
they will. That's just a surefire way of
That's excellent.
of educating them quickly.
Yeah. I like that. All right.
So peanut butter, 2 teaspoons. I was,
Yeah.
like the kids have those little Tupperware
Yeah,
containers.
yeah.
I steal it from them and I
Yep.
put one in my pouch. and
Yeah. I
bring
like
that
it.
in. Now I've also gone and I've slathered peanut butter over the whole tank.
Right.
It just depends.
It depends. If I was scouting, I'd probably not want to have too much on the tank in case I ended up in a spot that wasn't.
Right.
So if this is something you're using as a scouting tool, probably if this is something that's at an established site and it's been hit 5 years in a row,
Yeah.
you could probably lather that thing up, no problem.
And then it comes down to it's more for me than it is for them.
Yeah,
Because they already know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I
Um,
hear you.
For sure. But that's really all there's to the last thing that I would urge you, if you know you've got some pretty large bears in the area.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, they're basically a bunch of thieves.
Yep.
They'll come up and they'll try to yank this off.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
If for some reason your ratchet loosens or releases for
Yep.
whatever reason, because things happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We suggest that you get a chain
A tether.
and just chain it loosely around here.
Right.
It's not going to be in the way,
No.
but they will not be able to break the chain.
Yeah.
So if for some reason this does come down,
Yep.
and the bear's trying to, you'll never find this
No.
if the bear takes it away.
That's right.
It's not like a 45-gallon drum that leaves a
Yeah.
path of destruction when they're
Yeah,
pulling
yeah.
it through the woods.
They're picking this up and
They'll
just
pick
carrying
it up and they'll go.
Yeah.
So, and another thing that would work really well, and we've done it on a couple of sites, is use clothesline.
Like yeah, I was going to think like a.
Just wrap it around,
Yeah.
tie it in a bunch of knots, or even if you have a clip,
Yeah. We're talking about a metal tether.
a metal tether.
That's what we're
That's
really
it.
talking
That's
about.
what you're talking about.
Okay.
And just to keep it, because I mean, we recognize that when you break the cost down with a 5-year bear-proof warranty,
Right.
right? I
Yep.
mean, you don't want it stolen in the first year.
Yep.
Because a bear was able to get lucky enough and pop a ratchet strap on you.
Yeah.
Or if you just didn't get out and replace the ratchet straps from last year or 2 years ago.
Yep.
So that's all that we do. 2 ratchet straps, some sort of tether.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, my established site, I put a Mach II on it.
Right.
And I don't have a tether on it.
Right.
To attach to the tree. I'm just that confident now that the bears know at that established site.
Right.
They're not even trying to take it off. They'll stand up and they'll see what I've left up on the top, because
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
leave
yeah.
the ring. I'll leave little goodies on the
Yeah,
ring
yeah,
on them,
yeah,
maybe a marshmallow or
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah.
And they just check it all out.
Yeah.
And plus I also, when this cup is gone,
Yep.
they won't eat it, but I'll stick it on the top.
Yeah.
Again, it's another air scent.
Yeah.
And then when I come back with another one, I'll pick it off and
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
put a new one on.
Yeah.
Again, it's as versatile as you want it to be.
Yeah.
One of the things I was going to mention right quick, if I could,
Yes.
I'm not joking about getting a legitimate shot at a bear while it's at the tank.
Yeah.
Most all of us have some sort of trail cam.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, if you're sitting in your stand and you see the bear comes in, and it comes and it's coming back to.
Yeah.
There's no shot there. But if you loosen your ratchet straps
Right.
and shift it over here,
Right.
now I've got a broadside.
So that is actually very good information for me, because I tend to set my bait barrels up with the hole pointing at me. That's how because the way they paw at it and they move, and then they will usually paw at broadside for me or quartering away.
Yes.
This, based on what I just heard,
Yeah.
be sure I understand that. If I set this off to the side of my barrel, right, because my barrel's off this way, if I have it on this side, there's a good chance that they're going to be sort of broadside using it there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take it as a guarantee.
Yeah.
But
that's you got your setup. You know how your bears are coming into your barrels previously.
Yeah.
You probably are going to have a good chance at seeing how it goes.
Right.
But like one of the sites that I've used over and over and over again, I have one bear that comes in one way, another bear that comes in another way, and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at my camera saying, well, this is just a little guy. I'm never ever going to take a crack at him.
Right.
But this guy, he's what I would consider a shooter.
Yep.
And he's coming in this way, and he's going to be back too.
Right.
So when the next time I go in, I'm shifting the tank.
Right. And it's
so
easy
I'm using,
to do.
it's easier.
So easy
you
to
just
do.
loosen your ratchet strap. Yeah. And shift it to the side that you feel, and then you get a couple more pictures and see what happens.
Yeah.
And if they're giving you broadside now, you're golden.
You're gold. Because they do come in the same way. Your bears, you can almost tell which bear it is based on the way that they're choosing to come in, because they do tend to do that the same.
Yeah.
This guy's always over here waiting, and he always seems to come down this way. This guy just wanders. Yeah, I totally see what you're saying.
And I mean, and those that know, I've got some sites where the trail is so beat down that all of them come this. It's like a highway, and they leave the same way.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
It's just again, it's if they're
You got to know your bears.
You got to know your bears. So, but it does allow you to manipulate, and to some degree, a wild animal, how they're going to approach your site.
Yeah.
Right.
Excellent.
So,
all right. So if you guys have any more questions about this, I mean, obviously I'm going to set up YouTube channel or put it on the YouTube channel, but it's also going to be linked on my Facebook. Tag Standing Bear Liquid Bait Solutions, and we're going to get some more. And then I'm going to show you how this works for me. And like, I bought this. There's nothing going on here.
No,
I bought this. So if it works for me, you're going to know it works for me. And if it's not working for me, I'm going to either learn why or find out that it's just not working for me. And we'll find out.
That's right. And
we'll find out.
And reach out.
And reach out. And I will be using Mike or James, if you want to call him James.
Yeah. There's number 2. Pops.
All right, sweet. Thank you, my man.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
To the woods.
Take care.
All right, so that was a lot of fun. I want to thank Mike from Standing Bear Liquid Bait Solutions for coming all the way to my place for the interview today, and helping show me how to best use and apply the Mach I and in all its variations, to help me try to see more bear and be more successful in my hunting. So Mike, thank you. I do appreciate it. If you have any questions for Mike, regarding any product that Standing Bear makes, then certainly you can probably reach out on the video. I'm going to post this on my Facebook page, whatever that might be, or reach out directly to them through their Facebook page, Standing Bear Liquid Bait Solutions, which is tagged in this video probably, and a few other places on my page. Mike wanted to extend to all of you that took the time to watch the video. He has a current stock of the Castor X and the Beaver X, and he wanted to, sort of give you guys and girls something, if it's something you haven't used before and you want to try it, an excellent opportunity and a little bit of a saving. So on the Castor X and the Beaver X, if you buy 2 of one, then you'll have a third of the other. So free, buy 2, get 1 free of either one or the other, or you can buy both, obviously. And that's 33% savings. So you buy 2 of the bottles of Castor X, get the third free, or if you buy 2 bottles of the Beaver X, get the third free. And all you have to do in order to get that is tell him bear down. So when you reach out to him, just say bear down. Ultimately, that means that you watched this video all the way through, and he wanted to pass that savings on to you guys. Other than that, I'm going to head out to the woods. I'm hoping tomorrow. I'm gonna be honest. I had a long weekend, so I'm getting a little tired. I'm gonna try and get this all put together and out to you guys, and then I'll be starting another video about my my day in the woods setting up my Mach I. To the woods. Cheers.